Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
Oh, what's that I see? I see a flag on the field. We have an MECC. You know what an MECC is, John?
A Mary Elizabeth Coleman correction.
Exactly. We have an MECC. During the break, John says, hey, I got one more correction. So, John, I wonder if I get case to case him. Now, here's John with an MECC correction.
You know what we could probably do? We could probably get Mary Elizabeth to say, hold on. And then we could use that as a soundbite. We could be creative about that. Here's the correction, Brad. A few weeks ago, probably about 2 weeks ago, we talked about how Washington University has implemented a program for community members or anyone to talk about how they can rename buildings that are named after, quote, problematic men. And let's face it, they're all men. How they can rename buildings, because you don't want a building named after a guy that wasn't an incredible, committed progressive. So I made some kind of an offhand throwaway joke, Brad, about how the women's a cappella group at WashU was named the Greenleafs. Now, one of the guys that's been at the center of the controversy is William Greenleaf Eliot, who was one of the co-founders of WashU. And as it turns out, he did not have progressive ideas in his day, so we got to remove his name from everything. And I said something silly about how, hey, gee, I hope they don't change the name of the Greenleafs. Brad, a listener to our show who's not in the St. Louis area, but someone who listens to our show, is an alumni of the Greenleafs, Brad. Now, this is a group that if you would see their posters around campus, you would think they were models. And in fact, this woman was a child model. Her face was on a billboard as a youngster. But anyway, moral of the story is she told me, Brad, hey, John, you're never going to believe this, but the Greenleafs are no more. They changed their names to the Evergreens. The Evergreens, Brad. So we can have no more Greenleaf posters. We can have no more Greenleaf concerts because that's glorifying a man who is less than progressive. The name of the female a cappella group at WashU is now the Evergreens.
Did they just change it because of this? They
changed it. Yeah, they changed it in the last few years. So I went and I looked. I Googled WashU a cappella, and as of a couple years ago, they were still the Greenleafs. I think, excuse me, even as of 2019. But sometime in the last, or maybe it was 2021, I saw a Greenleafs post, and they were out on the town and whatever. But yeah, so it had to have happened in the last like 3 years or so, I would say, Brad. So anyway, good for them because they're no longer honoring a man who is less than inclusive, Brad.
But I just want to make sure we're talking cause and effect. In other words, the reason they changed their name was because they didn't want to be associated with the founder.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you 100% can't have William Greenleaf Eliot be associated with him because you know what? He was not an abolitionist, Brad.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a dumb question.
Mm-hmm.
The university is named after George Washington, Washington University. Wasn't George Washington a slave owner?
Yeah, he was, Brad, and that's the definition. I would call that the definition of problematic, Brad.
Why? So shouldn't the place now be called something else besides Washington University?
Hey, my idea is that we should just go ahead. We should skip all the steps and make it Corey Bush University.
I don't see this.
And hey, people could say, "Hey, John, listen, where'd you go to school?" And I don't like to intellectually flex, but I'd be like, "Oh, I went to CBU."
No, John.
And people say, "What's that?" Corey Bush University.
John grew up in the town of Hazleton, right? Remember?
I did. I grew up in Hazleton. Yeah, it's right next to. It's right next to Mexican Pond. It used to be known as Spanish Lake, but it's Mexican Pond now.
There's an inside joke that who was the reporter on
Jeremy Goodwin, who corrected himself to give him credit, but he said that it happened in Hazleton.
Right, and who was our candidate for Secretary of State that said she's going to boycott? She wants the mayor of Hazelwood to resign because...
Oh, yeah, she wants the mayor of Hazelwood. She wants Matt Robinson to resign for something that happened 10 miles away.
Right.
That's good.
Because it's the Hazelwood School District, but where it happened was in unincorporated St. Louis County, which is probably 10 miles east of Hazelwood.
And all these things are remedied. all these things are remedied by just Googling. It's a 30-second Google search.
For me, it's Wikipedia's, Okay,
yeah.
I'm going to run through a couple things. First off, Illinois is one of the toughest states in the country as far as guns concerned. Matter of fact, they've enacted all sorts of new crazy laws. For years, they had this thing called the FOID card, which stands for Firearms Identification. In Missouri, if you want to go buy a gun, you show up at the gun store, you pick out your gun, you show them your ID, you sit down, you fill out the federal form, the one that Hunter Biden can guide you through very well. You fill out the form, they run your background check. If you pass, you get the gun, you pay for the gun, you're out the door. Okay? In Illinois, before you can go buy a gun, you have to have a FOID card, which I understand from some of my friends in Illinois now, it takes 3 to 5 months to get your FOID card processed. And then you go to the gun store and you buy the gun. If you want to get your concealed carry permit, it's a 2-day class, whereas in Missouri, when it was mandated, I think they're still the same. It's still a day class. They've done everything they can to make it very, 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 very tough to buy a gun, hold a gun in Illinois. Earlier this week, a judge in Illinois essentially came out and said, all that stuff doesn't apply to illegal immigrants, and they can carry guns if they want.
I saw that headline. Yeah, and why not, Brad? Why shouldn't they be able to defend themselves a little quicker than real American can?
I'm going like, what in the world is this?
Well, because now here's the thing. If I'm double, I didn't read the story, Brad. But here's the thing: if the rules don't apply to me for immigration, then why should I have to? If I'm not an American, then why should other rules apply to me? Like, why would I have to pay taxes? Why would I have to follow federal rules on guns? Like,
John, it almost makes me want to jump on a plane and fly down to like El Paso or something like that and go across the border and come back up and go, and
that's you should definitely make that sound too, because that's how they sound.
Speak gibberish, I just speak blah 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 blah.
Go down there and be Juan Carlos Gomez, right. And then be like, And also, now here's the most alluring thing for me: when I hear about how much cash these guys get depending on your jurisdiction, like I would take a trip to El Paso and do exactly what you said and come back for $10,000. Like, that's worth it spending a day on a Southwest flight.
Okay, here's the story. What did I do it? Boy, there's we're not going to have time for all this stuff. There's an amazing story about, we don't have the problem in the St. Louis area, at least not to any large degree. In some cities, this thing with squatters is getting out of control, and there's a fascinating...
The New York instance where, wasn't that the New York case?
Yes, where the lady calls up ABC 7, which is like the New York Channel 7 affiliate in New York City. She tells the story about how she's got this house that she inherited. Her mom and dad passed away, and it's like $1 million house in Queens or something like that. And these guys moved into her house, like 3 guys and a gal moved into her house. And anyway, let's go through that story tomorrow, because that takes a little bit longer to. And the bottom line of the story is, she calls police to get the squatters thrown out, and she ultimately gets arrested and taken away in handcuffs. So
yeah, which is how it should be, because we'll talk about that tomorrow, and we should also explore why I'm surprised that hasn't become an issue in the St. Louis area.
Okay, here's a story, and I'm not making this up. Where is it? Okay. In Toronto, they're having a crime wave in Toronto. Car thefts have gone up 150% over the past 6 years. And this is Canada's largest city, Toronto, okay? And apparently, once again, this hasn't happened around here, at least I haven't heard of it. One of the biggest problems they're having in our area, if people want to steal a car, they carjack it. And once again, this is Brad's law of unintended consequences, because of the fact that they've made the cars so hard to steal with all the anti-theft and the PATs and the immobilizer and all that kind of stuff, that how do you steal a car? Well, you steal a car when it's running. And when is it running? You walk into somebody's stoplight, you put a gun in their face, get out of the car, you take off in their car, and it's your car because of the fact that, according to New York state law, I'm kidding about that. Anyway, what's happened in Toronto is these car thieves are breaking into people's houses, and they're essentially finding the occupants of the house, and 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, wake them out of a sleep, and they go, "Where's your car keys?" And they are given the car keys. The thieves are given the car keys. Thieves leave, drive off in their car. So What is the Toronto Police Department's solution to this? You ready for this?
Yeah, I think I heard this, but go ahead and make it easier for him, right?
They're supposed to leave your car keys. You're supposed to leave your car keys at the front door.
That's what a great idea, Brad. But I hate to, Brad. What alternate world are we living in where that's the recommendation?
From the police department. It's like essentially like, okay, if leave the car keys at your front door, not in the front door, but at the front door. So when they break in through they're assuming that they break in through the front door, but
they probably. What if they come in through the garage? What if they come in through the back door?
So when instead of them breaking into your house and confronting you when you're in bed, hey, where's your car keys? You walk in the door. Matter of fact, why don't you put them like on a hook with a sign that says
on a platter, maybe a silver platter.
Right.
Actually.
Hey, car thief, here's my car keys.
Yeah.
I'm going like, I don't believe this. And this
but let me interrupt, Brad. What does the insurance industry have to say about this? At some point, doesn't somebody have to throw their hands up and be like, absolutely not?
Here's what this is the guy. What's the guy's name? Riccardi. He's like the police chief or something like that. Toronto police, after Constable Marco Riccardi, he's worth plot. And this is what he said. Riccardi said residents could avoid potential home invasions by leaving car fobs at front doors, suggesting those break-ins could be violent and life-threatening. And get this. Here we go. This is the quote from the cop. He's talking about the thieves. A lot of them that police are arresting have guns on them, and they're not toy guns. They're real guns, and they are loaded. Now, if you know,
that's good to know. By the way, it's not a super soaker,
right?
Because I would definitely assume that they were carrying super soakers or Nerfs.
Right. So the police chief or whoever this guy is essentially saying, "Yeah, these guys got guns, and they're not toy guns." And I'm going like, now here's the other thing. If you know anything about gun control in Canada, Canada's gone off the chain. I mean,
absolutely.
Things have gotten bizarre in Canada where you think things are weird like in New York.
In Illinois.
Yeah, you ain't seen nothing like it is in Canada.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there are people who get arrested for literally thrown in jail for saying the wrong things because in Canada, they have no First Amendment. You can say whatever the hell you want, but if it's something that the government doesn't approve of, you get thrown in the slammer. And I'm not kidding when I say that. It's just bizarre.
Next thing you know, Brad, they're going to set bond at an unrealistic level.
Yeah, like $500 million for.
That would never happen. Never mind.
You don't think?
No, never mind. Nobody in their right mind would ever do that, Brad.
Okay,
because that's pretty transparent.
Here's another story. You're not going to believe this one. And I once again, I read this story and think to myself, I can't believe I'm reading this. Do you know her? And she's been in the news. We talked about her, but you necessarily don't know her name. Her name is. What is it? I got this stupid thing. Join Fox News for content. No, just give me the stupid story.
Is it Valentina Gomez?
No, it's Brianna Coppage. Brianna Coppage.
I know that name, yeah.
Do you know why you know that name?
No, I don't.
She's 28. She was a teacher at St. Clair High School.
Oh, yeah.
And they found out she had an OnlyFans account. Okay?
Yeah.
And she was sort of shown the door. And she was shown the door, like, hey, fine, you see, you're out of here. Okay? So she's admitted the reason I think she has a master's degree, and the reason she was doing the OnlyFans stuff was essentially she was paying off her master's degree, and she loved teaching, but I think she's sort of voluntarily resigned after this whole thing came to light. She's been fired from another job.
Really, another one?
She got a job at Compass Healthcare, which is one of the healthcare and it's all over the state. Matter of fact, that's where I got my COVID-19 shots, but in Raytown, Missouri, on the other side of the state.
That's true. You had to drive across the state.
Drive half.
So did she? Now, sorry to interrupt, Brad, but I mean, so did she leak? Because here's my thing. I think a lot of these women will do this, set up an OnlyFans, and then hope to get caught. They hope to leak it because it does great stuff for their numbers.
Nope. She said the interesting thing was she admitted she's made over $1 million in OnlyFans, but she talks about the fact that she's got that 9-to-5 urge. Literally, she said that, not 9-to-5 urge. She said that she needed structure in her life and she needed something to get up for every morning and go to work. So she got a job like as a counselor at Compass Healthcare. and they said they didn't do a background check on her, and she's there for 5 days, and after 5 days, somebody said, that's the gal with the OnlyFans account. Bang, she's fired.
So what you're saying, she says that she needs something to get up for in the morning, and getting guys up doesn't get it up for her. Is that what you're saying?
Listen to you, John. No, see, here's the interesting thing. The interesting thing about this is I can totally identify with where she's at. Not that she has an OnlyFans account, because when I sold my one business years ago and I had money and I didn't have to go to work every day, it drove me nuts.
Because you know what? And I quote you on this, Brad. What is the number one cause of death in America?
It's retirement.
Yep,
I'm telling you.
And you know people firsthand to whom I haven't known anybody who that's happened to that I can cite, but you literally know people that has happened to.
John, there was a time when it was a sad thing when KMOX, when it was a standalone station where they had KMOX and KMOX FM. Back in the day, KMOX had a lot of engineers, a bunch of engineers. They were the guys that the talent never touched any of the equipment. It was the engineers were on the other side of the glass, and they had like, I think one time 20 or 30 engineers. And there was a time when one of the engineers would retire, and literally within a year, he'd die. And I know of several people, friends of mine that I know that have told me the same story about their parents. And my mom and dad, when they retired, they went over the deep end in a hurry. I could chart how quickly when my mom and dad didn't have to get up for work every morning and go to work. My dad was an engineer, my mom was in education. When they could just sleep till whenever they wanted and do whatever they wanted and go wherever they wanted, that was the worst thing in the world for them.
Yeah, no structure and no purpose, Brad.
I'm telling you.
Which is why I always say, to fight urban crime, we need more basketball hoops, Brad. I think we're all on the same page there. Besides reparations, kids just need more activities, Brad, and then they'd start acting civilized.
John?
I think we agree. Boy, we came to that. Next thing you know, you're going to be agreeing with me on a one-day school week.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Okay, we didn't do the Clinton story, the Clinton airport story, which is bizarre. Well, there might be more stuff that comes out now. I'll do some more research. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay, and I'm serious. Will you talk to Mary Elizabeth Coleman and see if she'll do the little bit for us?
Oh yeah, she'll do a drop for us. Absolutely.
And I'll put that in the machine, and whenever you and I screw up. Now, how many talk show hosts would blatantly admit that they make mistakes and they're getting called out by them? So, today,
I think the button should say, hold it right there.
No, she needs to be like, hold it right there. This is Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and I call that this needs to be corrected. Something like
yeah. Or just say, BJ, interrupt us, Brad.
No, not that.
Oh, no, we won't say that.
Okay.
See everybody Friday.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?